Hello everybody and welcome to the RYsingLegend YouTube channel. We are finally doing Vanguard stuff on this channel again. After close to a year, I think it's been maybe just under 9 months. No, it hasn't been even. We'll say back to doing card game content for Vanguard. Some of you may or may not have seen, but I have done some some quote-unquote fan dubs for some Vanguard anime stuff, so go ahead and check those out. Today, I have a little profiling I'd like to do on Blangdmire. So, I actually got this deck list from Vanguard Paradox, so shout out to Fuzzy Paradox. I just want to talk about it a little bit. So, I didn't play Blangdmire at all during the time it released, so it was my first time actually being able to play it on Dear Days too, and I've kind of got the gist of it, and I think I can pretty much explain things pretty well now. So I'm here to tell you why Blangdmire is a solid deck to pick up, and how to properly utilize it. So we're going to go through all the cards, explain why we are running what we're running, and then we'll take it for a demo fight against one of the AIs. So let us go ahead and get into it. So first and foremost, Blangdmire deck. We got the blinged out, shiny Blangdmire with the freaking flame animation and the beautiful blue frame. Oh, I love it. So Blangdmire, if you don't know, he is one of the Divine skill units that was released in the Divine series. Literally everything he does is free. He doesn't use any counterblasts, he doesn't use any... Well, he sort of uses soul blasts, quote-unquote, but not quite. But the deck's not very counterblast, to say the very least. So, Blangdmire, whenever he attacks Vanguard, bind 2 or more cards from up to 4 cards face down from the soul. And after you do, you can draw a card. If you bound 4 more cards, your opponent has to choose 2 rear guards and bind them face down, and then he gets 5,000 power until the end of the battle for every 2 face down cards in your bind zone. So, goal pretty much is bind as many cards from your soul possible, make Blangdmire big, and then prepare for your kill turn with the Divine skill. Which his Divine skill is a game ender. It is an auto effect Divine skill Vanguard in the beginning of the guard step of the battle that this unit attacked. If your bind zone has 8 or more face down cards, you may have this unit gain +1 critical until the end of the turn. If you do, your opponent cannot call or play Sentinels from hand until the end of turn, and then choose one of your opponent's Vanguards, and until the end of your opponent's next turn, all your opponents and that unit's abilities are... all your opponents and that unit's abilities are nullified. So pretty much this says your opponent's Vanguard has no skills. So, something I found out is that this also takes away Twin Drive from your opponent's Vanguard. So, when I was playtesting yesterday on stream on twitch.tv/RYsingLegend, when I was playtesting against an AI, I didn't end up killing the turn I used the Divine skill. My opponent got another turn. But I was able to survive much easier because it turned off my opponent's Vanguard skills, and they didn't have the ability to re-ride, which I don't know if re-riding actually takes away Blangdmire's effect or not, but they could not do anything. They were swinging vanilla because they apparently they lost everything including Twin Drive, so they only had 1 drive check too. It saved me. So sometimes if you don't kill the turn you do it, it does also help you survive your opponent's next turn. And then everything else in the ride line is there to fix your soul. the gist of the ride line is that they pretty much try to only put non-trigger cards into your soul. And if you put a certain amount into your soul, you get to draw cards, which is really nice. And it helps you filter out your deck to leave less normal units in it so that your odds of hitting triggers is increased. So really not too much to say about the ride line there. You know, it's all free. So looking at everything else now, let's go ahead and check the grade 3s. We have the Colossus. This card, this card's incredible. It surprised me how good this card is. When it attacks a Vanguard, if your bind zone has 4 more face-down cards, it gets 10,000 power until the end of that battle. And if you do, at the end of that battle, put it into your soul. And then, has a secondary effect that when it's put into a soul by your card's ability, and you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard Blangdmire in its card name, you can bind it face down and draw a card. So this helps you reach your threshold of 8 for your divine skill quicker. And it also helps your Blangdmire's power scaling grow higher. You know, so you're always going to try to bind 4 cards from your soul at a time with Blangdmire's skill alone. So if you did your 8 with Blangdmire and then 2 of this, you're getting a lot more power. I think it's for every 2 you get 5,000 power, right? For every 2 card, yeah, for every 2 face-down cards in your bind zone. So 5, 10, 15, 20, you're getting plus 25,000 power if you have 10 face-down in your bind zone. So that's a 38k Vanguard, not including a boost or Persona Ride. Not bad, pretty good. So yeah, this card's, the Colossus is really good. So there's other ways you can put it into your soul besides just your ride line, of course, and you can do it in a way that this card is pretty much your discard fodder sometimes. So I say that because of this card here, the Servant Falcracia. And her bottom skill doesn't matter, we're not running any grade 4s, it's just the first one. Auto rearguard, when this unit attacks a grade 3 or greater unit, choose up to 1 dark states from your drop zone, and this unit gets 5,000 power until the end of the battle for each grade of that card, and then you put that card into your soul. So, and this is not once per turn, so if you restand her, you can do it again. And this essentially turns her into a potential draw engine when you combine her with the Colossus in your drop zone. So if you don't discard your cycler, I think they call them, your energy cycler card, the one that draws you a card when you discard it for riding from the ride deck, you pretty much have 8 ways to replace the card you discarded from discarding to ride. I don't think the second effect of this card is too relevant, it's mostly just there for the discard fodder effect. So if you don't discard this to ride from your ride deck, Colossus is definitely just as good. Because eventually, you will have a turn later on where you'll use Falcracia's effect to just take the Colossus from your drop zone and it'll, you know, convert to a draw and add itself to your bind zone face down. So not only will you be replacing that Colossus you discarded early on, but you'll also be increasing Blangdmire's power even further on its attacks, which is really good. So yeah, then we have the Zamung, I think it's called, right? Zamug. I hardly see myself using its on-play skill very much, to be honest, but it does happen on occasions. Auto, when it's placed on rearguard, if you have grade 3 or greater Vanguard Blangdmire in its card name, counter +1, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck and put any number of cards into your soul from among them and shuffle the deck. If you put 1 or more cards into your soul, you may draw a card. So, one of the key things about some of these cards in the deck is they say you may draw a card. There's actually been times where I would decline to draw the card. And the reason is, sometimes you'll be filtering so much normal units out of your deck that a lot of triggers will be left in your deck, and that draw might end up being a trigger. So sometimes I'll actually decline the draw just to increase my odds of checking a trigger. And then its other effect is an attack effect when it's on rearguard. If you have a grade 3 greater Vanguard Blangdmire in its name, and this unit only has 1 critical or less, Energy Blast 3 to give this unit 5,000 power plus 1 critical to the end of that battle. So, key thing about this is, typically you might want to attack with this first, and then attack with your Vanguard, because there is a card in this deck that allows you to restand a rearguard, and so you would typically want to do that effect after Zalmuk has attacked. This way you pressure first, and then you stand it, and then when your Vanguard swings, if you get a crit, you can give it a crit again without having to worry about losing that effect. Because if you attack with your Vanguard first, before this unit, and you give it a critical trigger, that critical trigger turns off that entire attack effect. So you want to make sure you take advantage of that effect before you start checking your crits. Otherwise, you just completely lose out on that effect when it attacks. Then, of course, we have our typical perfect guards, 3 regular PGs, 3 blitz orders, typical. And then this card I found to be very interesting that people were running, and I understand entirely why. This is a very good card selection effect in the deck. When it's you're not ever going to use the bottom effect because you're not running Almagester Vanguards in this deck, so you're really just using it for that first effect. When it's placed on rearguard from hand, counter +1, look at the top 3 cards of your deck and choose a card from among them to put into your hand. And then choose 1 to put into your soul, discard the rest. This is card selection, and this is very good. So you can pick whatever you want of those 3 cards to put into your hand, pick whatever you want in your soul. The last one does get discarded, unfortunately, but the card that you get to pick to put in your hand in soul will effectively help you with your strategy. And sometimes you might just get a Colossus into your soul later on, but or you might just, increase your trigger odds. Sometimes you might lose a trigger and it will suck, but it's still fine. It's still extra cards to help you pay the cost for Blangdmire's skill when it attacks. Do keep in note though, the Colossus's effect only activates when you're on your Blangdmire grade 3, so be aware that there may be some times where you may accidentally get the Colossus, and it might be better to put it in your hand, but sometimes it's not really a big deal if you do put it to your soul and you don't get the effect, because there is another card in this deck that lets you actually utilize your soul to fill your board. Let's go ahead and get into our Evoke Alchemist. This is our Blangdmire support booster. This is the unit you want to always call behind Blangdmire, your Vanguard call. It gets extra power when boosting. If you have a Blangdmire grade 3, it becomes essentially a 15k booster, which is a really good number fixing boost. Just this behind Blangdmire Raise 28k, that is a magic number. That is, if they don't have a front trigger, it's usually at least a 2-card guard. But when you use Blangdmire's skill, it is at least a 2-card guard or more, even if they have their fronts with the extra shields. So, the effect that really matters, though, is this bottom effect. That, ignoring the power boost, if your bind zone has 4 more face down cards, you counterblast 1, choose one of your front row rear guards and stand it. And if your bind zone has 8 or more cards face down, it gets an extra 15,000 power. This is a card in our deck that enables Blangdmire to have multi-attacks, but it only does it when it boosts your Vanguard with Blangdmire. So, that's the specific to this. You can only use this when it's boosting Blangdmire. I mean, it's still not bad to have it behind your rear guards, because again, it also just gets the static 5,000 power buff, so it still would be at least a 13,000 power booster for a rear guard, so you can still make some good numbers. Like with the Servant, if you put the Colossus in Soul, she swings for 25,000 on her own. With this being a 13k booster, that would be 38, and that is a magic number threshold. So it'll ask your opponent to guard with 2 or more cards, typically. Then we have this card. I found that there's been some people running this at more than 2. I've realized this card is not really that important, really. Like, it's okay, but it's not really super important. You may use it early sometimes. Typically, it's better to use it on your Blangdmire. Whenever you're on Blangdmire, when you call it to rearguard, you soul charge 1 if it's early game and you're not on Blangdmire. But if you have Blangdmire out, you can choose from the top 2 cards. Instead of soul charging 1, put 1 into your soul, and then you can put the other card back, or you can just take none. So it's also a form of card selection as well. And then it has a very interesting skill as well. Auto back row rearguard at the end of your turn. If the critical of your Vanguard Blangdmire's name was increased by the Divine skill ability, you can retire this unit and draw a card. If your other unit with the same card name as this unit was not retired this turn, until the end of your opponent's next turn, your opponent gets at the beginning of your ride phase, choose a card from your hand and you may discard it. If you do not discard a card, you cannot ride or stride. So this asks your opponent to pay a fee to be able to try to bypass Blangdmire's skill, which is very interesting. And, you know, it also replaces itself as it does that, which is really neat, honestly. But you're really not going to need this that often, and that's why it's only at 2. You know, trigger lineup, we're running 4 heals, OT, 3 fronts. Because we're drawing a lot of cards, it's better to draw the fronts because it's extra shield value. 8 crits. The soul crit sometimes does come up every once in a while. You know, you can use it to fix your column numbers with your Colossus. Because, you know, Colossus being a 13k, it'll get 10,000 power more with its skill. But behind, like, a 13k boost, it's only 26. So if you attack with a different rearguard first, boosted by the crit, you can turn that 26k column or 21k column, or no, 36, because this would be 23 on its own, plus 13k if you put like an Invoke Alchemist, or let's say it's just 8k, you know, that makes 31. You do the crit, you make it 33, it's now hitting the magic number threshold, and your opponent's gonna need more cards to guard. So essentially, it'll turn whatever, if you have your Colossus on rearguard and, you know, you're hitting a weird number, it'll make that into a magic number threshold, and your opponent will be needing more cards to guard. So the crit is effective in this deck, to say the very least, if you have to use it. And then the last card we got is the order card, the Cage of Furious Star. I was originally running the Dual Nation card in my testing with this deck. I found out that, you know, through testing, it wasn't nearly as effective as this order card, because it was wasting a rearguard space that could have been used on a more effective rearguard. So having the order version of this effect is actually better, because, you know, it lets you call out the units you really want on your field. So, you know, Soul Charges 1 first, it'll give you potential additional option to call out off the skill. And then you can choose a grade 3 less from your soul, call it to rearguard, and it gets extra 5,000 power to the end of the turn. So it'll also help improve your numbers as well when you start attacking. This is very good, honestly. This is a very good card, and I see why people run it after a testing. So that's pretty much the gist of the Blangdmire deck itself. Now we will actually go ahead and get into a test game to show you exactly how effective Blangdmire will be. So let's go ahead and take a fight against one of the AIs for now. The CPUs, whatever you want to call them. You know what? Let us fight. It really doesn't matter that much, to be honest, because, yeah, we're just gonna body them. At least I believe we're gonna body them. Let's fight against... Here, let's fight against him. We don't need no easy mode. We destroy these players. Alright, let's go ahead and do this. Alright, so against this opponent, you know, against most people, you know, in this fight, we actually are probably going to want to go first, get our Divine Skill as soon as possible. And, we need 8 cards in our bind zone in order to do so. So we are going to just do that. We actually opened up pretty well. Now, I did not draw the Colossus, but that is still fine. If there was anything I would discard, we actually want all 4 of these. Those are like our most important rear guards. So I think I still discard the energy one to draw, even though we don't get to use the skill. But that's completely fine. I'm not even gonna lie, I have kind of gotten a bit used to going second a lot of times, because the energy to draw when you're the energies to draw cycler ones, they can only really be used right away when you go second. So getting all those extra draws going second, I felt like was just really good value. But Blangdmire can't really get its Divine Skill off as quickly going second, though. So there is that to keep into account. And we just got a front, we just turned off that last attack. We are slowing them down now. Yeah, we've got pretty much the majority of what we need right now. Alright, so we are going to discard the Energy Cycler. We're going to use that first. Draw. Rather, I was about to say, I'd rather be more likely to draw a non-trigger unit, but then I drew a trigger unit. That's still fine. Alright, we get 2 to soul, so we're gonna draw. And then the crit's gonna go back to deck at least. Okay, we drew a really good piece at least. Alright, against most opponents, you probably wouldn't do what I'm about to do. And when I say that, I mean, like, being aggressive, because they might target down the board, but, the AI or CPU fighter usually doesn't. This one specifically doesn't really. So, we can effectively... Oh, that's good, actually. Okay. So, I'll take a Perfect Guard any day to hand. Soul, I think the Zamug is probably the best call, and then the grade 1 in the drop zone is fine. So we can actually feel free to go a little aggressive against the NPC here. And we could start just hammering them with attacks. Okay. So now we have pretty much just defensive and our 1 utility. So we can probably get them to about 3 or 4 damage if we get a crit. Not guaranteed to, but, you know, if we do, it'd be good. Imagine it's a crit. Aww. That was worth a shot. So we don't really have anything good to discard to ride next turn. Unless we top deck. Otherwise, if we don't, I'm probably just going to discard the grade 1. Because, it's really not that effectively useful. It's okay. But there are better cards that we could be using. But I guess if I do draw my discard card, I'll still probably call it to board because, you know, we do get that selective soul charging when we are on Blangdmire, and we will be on next turn. Ooh, they don't really got much they could do right now. They're just going middle column swing, nothing else. Alright, we'll take it. They did get a perfect guard, which is notable. We do not heal, unfortunately, but I don't think that rear guard's going to be hitting anything. Yep, that's what I thought. Okay. No, not the OT! Alright, let me just double check the soul first, though. Do we have any grade 1 rear guards in soul? We do, actually. We do have another Evoke Alchemist for making a good column number. Yeah, I think I'm fine with discarding the grade 1 then to ride. This way we can, we'll use the order card, we'll get out the Evoke Alchemist, and we can make a really good column number with the Zamuk. Okay, +3 to soul, we're drawing a card? Drawing 2 cards because we just soul charged the Colossus. That is very, very good. Okay. So now we are going to be using our order card to call out that Evoke Alchemist that is in our soul. So we need a booster for one of our other column. Granted, we don't have to, but it's just good if we do. I just soul charged another Colossus. I'm about to soul charge 1 to call from soul, draw a card, so I effectively just didn't even use anything out of my hand. And now my Blangdmire is going to get even more power. That is absolutely wonderful right now. So we're going to have a very strong turn on us. Oh, we just... I mean, we don't need that anymore, actually. We could use it later defending, though. But yeah, our board state's looking fantastic right now. But let's go ahead and look at our drop zone real quick, though. We don't have much to work with for our servant. But we could pressure with Zamuk. Let's see, grade 3. This one or last, energy blast, get 5k in a crit until the end of that battle. No, not yet. Okay. So, I think the play is we maybe swing a Zamuk, threatening the 2 crits. It's going to get a little extra power from the skill as well. Then we're going to attack with Vanguard. We're going to use the skill of our Evoke Alchemist to stand it. And then from there we just, we have to order our skills correctly. Alright, we are going to end main phase. So I'm going to swing with no boost first. Because, I want the next attack that it does to be boosted. We have the energy, we're going to use the skill to get the power to crit. They might feel threatened to guard. Like, oh no, you're swinging for 2 damage? It's a easy shield, I'll block it. Okay. That is typically how the AI will work. Or the CPU, whatever you want to call it. Then we swing Blangdmire. Now, order of operations. We have to use Blangdmire first because Evoke Alchemist requires you to have cards in binds. So we'll use Blangdmire's skill. It's easy to get rid of the ride line first, because you're never going to call those from soul. You're not ever going to call Blangdmire from soul. Those are your easy targets to get rid of first. We're not running the Jewel Beast in this deck, so it is fine that we do that. We will draw a card. We got a Persona ride, perfect. Our opponent's going to lose their 2 rear guards permanently, which is great. Now we're going to use Evoke Alchemist because it'll see that we have cards in bind, so now we're going to be able to restand the Zamuk. And as you see, we only had 1 face-up damage, so we really don't need that much counterblast in this deck. So we don't need to run counter charges, really. Okay, Alright, we didn't get any triggers, but this is fine. We got another that order, so if we do lose a rear guard, we could potentially get something else out of our soul. I don't think we really will need to. Alright, so now we will swing with our... Actually, no, not that one. We'll swing Zamoog first, actually. I think Evoke Alchemist should gain power. Yeah, there it is. 28k, that's hitting the magic number threshold. They do hit a defensive, they do get to heal, unfortunately. But it does look like our doll wouldn't hit if it didn't have the skill it has. And we just used our orders, so we have a grade 3 in drop zone, so we can meet her highest power boost, right? Oh no, it's only when your opponent's at freaking grade 3, isn't it? If we hit a trigger, that would have been very different, but this is fine. Hey, I'm making mistakes, so you don't have to. Think about it like that. So arguably what I probably should have done, though, is I probably should have actually swung with her first instead of the Zamoog, and then restood her instead. This way I still have the crit pressure from the Zamoog, but it would be swinging bigger. You don't have any more energy, so I can't use Energy Cycle to guard, so, what the heck, I'll just intercept. We got another copy anyway. I don't think our opponent's gonna be using doing a very threatening turn, so this should be okay. Plus, we're only at 2 damage. I could have taken that last hit, but this is fine. Now, I'm not exactly sure how much use I'm going to be able to get out of Divine Skill in the next turn, so I actually might just not even use it until my following turn if I have to do one, which it's looking like I most likely am going to have to wait another turn to use it. Because them healing down, that does kind of hurt, actually. Did lose a Colossus, that does kind of sting a bit. Alright, doesn't look like they're doing that much else, I'm just gonna take this. Okay, we do lose a Persona Ride, but this is okay. So, I'm actually gonna make a very contradictory choice here. I'm thinking I actually won't Persona Ride because we've lost all our other Persona Rides, and I don't think we can kill this turn. So, I'm actually going to not use the stuff. I'm not going to use my Persona Ride, and I'm not going to use the Divine Skill. We are going to try to get as much into our soul possible right now with multi-attacking with the doll. I think that's probably the play, is trying to take full advantage of the doll. Okay. So I'm going to do what I probably should have done last turn, which is I'm going to swing with our doll first. We're going to use the skill. I'm actually going to just choose a grade 2 for now, because I think there's only one grade 3 in our drop zone. Yeah, we only have one grade 2 in our drop zone. I mean, not one grade 2, only one grade 3. So, I'll put a grade 2 in for now. It'll just hit a number where it's going to ask at least, you know, 15k shield or 10k shield. One card guard for now. Fine. It gave us our threshold for Blangdmire. That's what matters. So now I'm going to swing Blangdmire. We're not using Divine Skill because we cannot kill this turn. So we're going to Blangdmire skill first. We have our 4 in soul. But yeah, we're not using Divine Skill because there's just no feasible way for us to be able to kill them this turn. We are gonna draw. Okay, that's fine. They lose that unit for good, that's good. Now we're gonna activate Evoke Alchemist, we're gonna restand our Servant. Counterblasting the Colossus just in case we heal it. Okay, she's gonna get even more power as well. We are not activating our Divine Skill, as I said, though, because there's no feasible way for us to kill our opponent right now. We do see a crit. Okay, I'm gonna give the power to Zamook. Which means Zamook can pressure for lethal. Which is very good. Okay! Everything's gonna pressure for lethal. Wow. Okay, we may not be able to kill this turn, but at least we threaten lethal right now, and it's gonna, you know, draw a bunch of cards out of their hand, and it'll make them probably unable to survive the next turn. So we will swing with this first. They're probably gonna drop a Perfect Guard. Either that, or they're gonna drop multiple shields. Most likely a Perfect Guard. I think they have one. They're probably gonna drop the PG. Or an OT! Okay! Hey, you know what? Getting that out of their hand now is definitely good. That means that they're gonna require a lot more to defend Blangdmire next turn. Alright, this is gonna be a nice solid number. Actually, it's gonna be the same as Zamook, I think. Zamook was hitting for 48, I think. Because we're putting a grade 3 now, it's gonna get another 15k? Yeah, it's gonna be another 48. And we do get a PG out of hand. And they dropped a trigger. That is good for us. So for sure, I think we kill next turn. And we should be able to get the 4 cards in Soul. Because on the next turn, we Persona Ride. That'll bring us to 2. We're going to attack the doll. The doll is going to give us up to 3. And then we'll just use something else from hand that can give us another Soul. Even if it's just replacing Zamook with another doll, we are going to be able to hit that threshold. Now, they are starting to get their multi-attack combo ready, though. So it is going to be a little bit scarier. But we have plenty of cards to defend with in hand. Alright, 35k. 35k. 38 if we use the front trigger, and we can guard with this. Wait. I can't? Oh, I can't Cold Grave when a Greater from hand. Oh, boy. Okay. I think that's fine, and then we'll intercept Zamook. I was planning on replacing him anyway with another of the Servant. This is fine. We have the Perfect Guard for the Vanguard. Okay. Select cards for guarding. We can actually Perfect Guard this one if we really wanted to. Let's see. I might just use 2 cards to guard. To be completely honest. I'd rather save the OT to guard something if it's a bigger number threatening me lethal. I think this is fine. This is completely fine. He's swinging with Vanguard now, and he's going to restand both rear guards, I'm pretty sure. Yep. That's exactly what they're doing. Okay. We are going to Perfect Guard this. I'm going to be discarding the order, I think. because the order, I think I have to call something. Yeah. The order does make me have to call something, and there's really feasibly nothing I want in my soul right now. Nothing I want to call from soul. Actually, no, we put the order in soul recently. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna discard the order, I think. Yeah, I don't think they're stopping Blangdmire. Okay, now they have their big swings again. No grade 1 or greater. Ha, that's fine, I have OT. And then we could take the last one, but I think just for the case of trying not to lose any more triggers, I'm actually going to guard it. And we also don't need any more counter blasts anyway. I think this is fine. Because we're still going to hit the threshold for the soul anyway. And there's just no way they're going to be able to guard our center line. There's just no feasible way they're going to survive the center line attack. Yeah, there's really no way they're going to survive this turn. For sure we win. Our Vanguard column is just going to be so high right now. Like, the numbers are going to be just so high that there's just no feasible way they're going to be able to survive it. Okay. We did draw something else to give us soul. Alright, so. That actually really helps us right now. So I'm going to call that out. We are going to use a skill. Hopefully it's no triggers. I don't think there should be. Okay, there's one there. We don't have to put both in our soul, though. So we'll put the one Zamugan soul. That's perfect. And then we're going to call the other servant. And we might as well make our numbers more threatening at this point, because we are guaranteed to kill right now. Okay. We are ready to rumble. So we're going to first and foremost start with the doll. No boost. I mean, she looks like a doll, but servant. Servant! I gotta keep calling her servant. Alright, with their skill. Wait, she's a doll, though. I see the ball joints. Okay, so. We are going to put a grade 2 in soul. She's gonna get 10k. That's gonna be asking 2 cards or maybe a front trigger. It's a front trigger. Okay. Yeah, there's no feasible way that they're winning. We definitely kill them this turn. There's absolutely zero doubt right now. Alright, so Blangdmire's skill first and foremost. We have exactly the 4 that we need in soul. And we're going to be hitting such high thresholds right now. We have 14 cards soul. I'm actually going to decline the draw in case we draw triggers. There is still a chance of that happening. We do not have that many triggers left in deck. Woke Alchemist is going to fix our power numbers to be a magic number. Now we're hitting that good number that we want. And then we're going to restand our rear guard. And it's going to get more power because of the skill. Now we'll use Divine Skill. So 73k, they can't guard. That's exactly why I declined the draw. This is exactly what I was talking about. There are times where you should decline the draw, and that was definitely one of them. And it paid off. We declined the draw. We hit our crit. If we would have drawn it... Oh! Okay! Wow. Yeah, that was definitely GG's, my CPU friend. Oh my goodness. Good lord. 4 crit. Yeah, we had 14 cards in bind zone. It was Jover for him. Yeah, so that's Blangdmire in a nutshell. You know, there was that slight misplay early on, but that's completely fine. Overall, I really do like this deck. This is probably my favorite Dark States deck. I've actually never really gotten too into Dark States, but I like this deck specifically. So just another quick view of the deck if you want to take a look at it again. But guys, that was the Blangdmire deck showcase. If you enjoyed, go ahead and like the video. If you'd like to see more of these, do subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments down below. I hope this was helpful. You know, it was helpful for me as well, because I learned from misplay. But yeah, there are some times where there are things that you would normally do that you shouldn't do. Like, I skipped Persona Ride one turn because I felt like it wasn't a good turn to do it. I only had one Persona Ride available that game because one was in the bind zone, one was in the damage, and I had to make sure I used it effectively. And so we waited until our last turn to do it, and it did in fact help with guaranteeing the win. We showed that there are times where declining the draw is the best option. And we realized a attack pattern mistake that we made, that we could have done better. So, we made a mistake, we learned from it. And yeah, honestly, it's a really fun deck. I like Blangdmire, honestly. This deck's very cool. I love his art. I love the freaking animation on the card, too, with the blue frame. Oh, it's beautiful. But yeah, guys, thanks so much for watching. Yeah, let me know if you guys want to see more of these. So thanks for watching. You guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll hopefully see you guys in the next one. Bye!